Okay, we are starting this again. Okay, adjust the slider into the computer is barely visible. To the dog and the cat are friends. Okay, see, they're friends here. But here they're in love. They're friends here. The number 5 becomes the number 9. Isn't that technically the number 9? No. Yes? Okay, I'm done. Scrumtush. I didn't listen to you. You know what time? No. Yes? No. Tell me anything about yourself you haven't told me. Yes. Help. You come back to sure. Oh yeah, I forgot. We are in the new content now. Oh, dude, look.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Get well
What could it
someday.
mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
No.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
I got a bucket. This is all I need. This is all I need.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chin. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting? No, never mind.
The bucket was
wrong.
Ooh.
Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
Ooh. Oh, that's going back to the meeting room. Okay.
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do. Stanley did not question why or how this bucket was speaking to him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Nah. I thought I could jump here. Danger everywhere. Oh my gosh, where have I gone?
No, stop. Look there on the wall. You see, there's a sign right there. It says, no buckets past this point. Stanley, how could you think it was okay to bring the bucket here? Unless, what if the problem is that you actually don't know what is a bucket and what isn't a bucket? I suppose that would explain a lot about your behavior up to this point. Which, if that's true, well, my goodness, I think we have to do something about it. This misunderstanding could have dire consequences on the entire rest of the game if not addressed quickly and properly. So much of the impact of the story is dependent on your understanding of what is and isn't a bucket. Please.
Oh my gosh, that's just... Don't do that, voice. No, I want to leave. I want to leave the darkness. Dude, do we get to play game show? Oh, heck yeah.
I'm going to run you through some test scenarios, and you'll tell me whether or not the thing I'm showing you is a bucket. Simple enough, right? This should tell us everything we'll ever need to know about what is or is not a bucket. Okay, let's begin. Item 1. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. It is a hologram of a bucket, not an actual
What?
bucket.
I was just joking.
Item 2. Is this a bucket?
No.
Correct. It is a
It's a 3D printed recreation of a bucket.
not an actual bucket. Item 3. Is this a bucket?
No.
Incorrect. This is a bucket.
Dang it.
Item 4. Is this a bucket?
Yes.
What? Are you hallucinating? This is a tractor. It's an enormous machine that tills the earth. I thought this was a gimmick. How on earth did you manage to screw it up? Absolutely incredible. Let's just move on to the next one.
But it looked like a bucket.
Is this a bucket? Correct. This is a bucket.
What? What?
Item 6. Is this a bucket?
Everything I knew was a lie.
Trick question. Both. Gotcha. Item... Wait, hold on. I can't find the next one. Let me see. It should be around here somewhere.
No.
Yes. Thank you. There's nothing here. Of course it isn't a bucket. We both know full well that nothing isn't a bucket. Wait, when I say nothing isn't a bucket, that makes it sound like I'm saying everything is a bucket, which of course is not true. Unless... Is that what you think? Answer me straight, Stanley. Are you trying to tell me that you believe everything is a bucket?
Yes.
You know what? I'm too confused to even sort it out. I've lost all sense of perspective. What is a bucket? What isn't a bucket? Mere moments ago I could answer these questions with confidence. And yet now I'm somewhat adrift. Do any of us know what a bucket is? Am I a bucket? Stanley, I can't keep doing this.
Yes.
I'm losing myself, and myself was all I ever had to begin with. I'm afraid the bucket is threatening to tear our relationship apart. I can't have that. I'm sorry. But I'm going to erase all buckets from the game entirely.
No. No, 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 no.
Here we go.
No, 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 no. No.
What happened? Is everything gone?
Because everything's a bucket.
Wait, was everything a bucket? Every single thing in the game was a bucket. Oh my God, I had no idea. How could... Except me. I'm not a bucket after all. And you, Stanley, you're still here. You're not a bucket either. Oh, this is wonderful.
Sweet.
We're not buckets. Yes, I actually feel much more at ease right now.
Yeah, but
it's
there's nothing.
delightful to get some clarity on that issue. But it doesn't change the fact that we haven't got a game. So, tell you what. I'll reset everything and we'll put back all of the buckets, okay?
Yes.
And we'll know that it's all a bucket. But if you run into anyone else, maybe don't mention that. Who knows what that information might do to a person? All right, here we go.
Did it.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Stanley
Give me
lifted
this.
the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
Now we're not going to jump over to the I saw the floor and I thought I could jump.
But Stanley had felt
And
the
I was
bucket calling
right.
to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this
No.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No, I didn't.
No, said the bucket. Don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift. Good, said the bucket. Now ride the lift all the way to the top. There's something up there I need you to do.
Whoa.
Stanley did not question why or
That's
how
a
this bucket
Stanley
was speaking to
figurine.
him. It should have alarmed him, of course, because buckets can't talk. But Stanley chose not to think about this obvious fact. He was firmly convinced that the bucket had spoken to him, and he unthinkingly did whatever the bucket asked.
Same.
In here, said the bucket. Go into this dark room over here. Stanley once again obeyed blindly.
Whoa.
Now pick up the phone, said the bucket. This is the sad story of a man named Stanley and his bucket. Once upon a time, I gave Stanley a bucket because I thought he was lonely and could use a friend. And
Where's
then,
my bucket?
very distressingly, he began to believe the bucket could speak to him.
Bucket. Oh, I painted a picture of the bucket. Where's my bucket? Oh. Press X to take me to work with you.
The Stanley Parable Reassurance Bucket was merely meant to provide the comforting glow of companionship. It doesn't literally talk and give you orders. Whatever Stanley is hearing the bucket say to him is just in his head. Lately, I've been concerned about him. Wouldn't you be concerned as well? To see him delusional like this, obsessing over an inanimate metal object? I want to say something to him, but I don't know how I can convince him. I don't know if he'll listen to me.
But it's a bucket. It's all I ever
Try
needed.
Anyway, Stanley, can you hear me? Listen to me. It's just a bucket. It can't think. It can't talk. All it will ever truly do for you is effectively transfer a liquid from one location to a different location. That's it. It doesn't do anything else.
Don't listen to the loud man. Press L for us to go back home.
You see, he's not listening. He's still taking orders from the bucket. You know,
Why
once
is it
upon a time,
dark?
it was me he took orders from. Me he trusted and listened to. Now all he cares about is his awful bucket. This stupid hunk of metal. It's sad, but I suppose he doesn't need me anymore. From now on, he's just going to cling to this bucket, this cold, empty bucket, this sort of shiny bucket. Well, I'll give it this. The bucket does have a nice shine to it.
Everything's dark.
Yes, I suppose on closer inspection that it doesn't quite look like your average hardware store bucket.
My bucket's watching
It's just a little
TV.
more, what am I trying to say?
I want to sit with you, bucket. Let's watch
More
white
capable
screen.
of transporting liquid. Like it would be better at moving an amount
This is a
of water
boring movie.
from
You wanna go back to
one
work?
room to another.
Relive this same day with me over and over.
Oh my God, what am I saying? Better at carrying water from room to room. It's a bucket. It's literally just a bucket.
This
Why do
chair
I feel
doesn't
so need to
exist.
point out the ways in which it's so much more than just a regular bucket?
To go to work, to home, to work, to home.
Oh no. I'm having feelings for the bucket. Oh no. What's going on? Why do I want to be with the bucket? Hear what the bucket has to say. Do
No,
anything it asks.
what's going
wrong with
on?
me? I don't understand. Perhaps if I had the bucket, this would be less confusing. Yes. The bucket could tell me what
What
to do
is
in
going
this troublesome
on?
situation.
Am I going to... You know...
Stanley, give me the bucket. Give it to me.
No.
Give me the bucket, Stanley. I need it. Give it to me now. Give it or I'll...
Go back to work, Stanley. Oh, if his co-workers were
All of
gone.
his co-workers were gone.
What could it
could
mean?
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
Bucket's all I need, man.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
The bucket is all I care about.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
But I think that's a stupid idea. Teenagers. Sense of demographics. Space between the teenagers. Throw something in the idea bin. Okay.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket. I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong. This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley.
His voice sounded like it was cracking
for a
there.
variety of reasons, but even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends.
Excuse
that your
me?
relationship is purely superficial and convenient. That your life is so banal. And coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Nah. I'm taking the bucket with me.
You found one of them. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of
Wait, I
happiness,
have two
Stanley.
now?
God knows
I
I've
didn't know I
tried.
had one.
So, I implore you to savor each and every moment.
New
you come
content. You
across
found
one of
it.
these beautiful
Collect them all.
figurines.
Taste the sequel.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought
But I
to
have a
himself,
bucket.
maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all
My
terribly
bucket.
wrong. Surely no good would come from
My
this.
bucket.
Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically
Ah.
grounding presence of his bucket. And indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which
Not
was,
my
of course,
bucket.
very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him. Stanley!
Bucket,
Stanley,
where are
it's
you?
me, the bucket. Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket. Come to me, Stanley. Find me. He had to find the bucket. He had to
It's all
return
these
to his old
buckets
friend.
around.
It was the
Oh,
only
which
way
one's
to truly
mine?
restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
I am bucket.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed,
Picked up her bucket of comfort.
and security, and walked to her place of work.
I'm
But on
just
this
holding a
particular
bucket.
day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket.
Yeah.
Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home.
No, I left my bucket at
How
home.
cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
What a great way to get to work. What are these meeting today? Figurine Finders Committee in the meeting room. It's gonna tell me where all the figurines are.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a warmth spread through Stanley's arms.
Bucket.
With the bucket in his arms again, he was home.
Okay, so this way we're going
the bucket
upstairs.
tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
So I think the meeting room tells you where to find these. A large room, lots of boxes. Some are both red and blue. Nearby a fireplace, a private but smelly place for an important person. So I know where this one will be number 6. That's the executive bathroom, the VIP bathroom, or whatever. The other 3. Oh yeah, I know where this one is. I saw it when we were doing one of the other endings. But some are red and blue, and nearby a fireplace, I don't know.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the
Well,
bucket.
it's not getting
You
it.
can feel that, can't you? The aura of coming to a staircase. Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Yeah, I think it's in here. Yeah.
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands? Stanley figs.
Stanlerines.
What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that. Another Stanlerine under your belt.
To be rich, is it a crime? To commit crimes, isn't it rich? What a life it would be to pick just one. Also, a red and blue. Okay, so we got 3 of them. Oh, what the heck? Oh yeah, it's this room. Business strategy. Okay, so do I go anywhere this time, now that I have bucket on me? Nope, still does the same thing. I am the most expensive boss.
Stepping into his manager's office,
Near
Stanley was once
fireplace.
again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation,
There's a
Stanley may
fireplace.
have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always. The bucket
Is it this?
and he knew it. The two of them were in, but Stanley guessed the correct
Okay,
by sheer
I was
luck.
confused if I remembered it or not.
He knew all along was the bucket guiding him. Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
So it should be nearby a fireplace, which... There it is.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name
I think
better
Figlies is pretty
encapsulates the
cool.
intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
So we need somewhere both red and blue, and then we need to get that box one. Which we have to do that, one ending. Somewhere red and blue.
The elevator raised
I don't know.
plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not
for the bucket.
Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read,
No.
Mind Control. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley and the bucket would both meet a violent death.
I'm trying to remember where this leads.
The door behind them was not shut. Stanley and the bucket still had every opportunity
Yeah,
to turn around
but-
and get back on track.
It says
At this
escape.
point, Stanley and the bucket were knowingly walking forward into a very painful death for each of them.
Well, I guess we'll find out if that's true or not. Let's go, bucket! Whee! Ugh. You okay, bucket? It's okay, bucket. We're fine.
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley and the bucket inched closer to their demise, Stanley reflected on how meaningless the bucket's warmth and comfort had turned out to be. To be sure, it puts the
Whoa.
mind and the soul at ease to embrace the bucket.
My bucket is
but
not
what use is a
meaningless.
sense of ease when you're about to be crushed to death? This is what Stanley thought to himself, and he sort of kicked himself for wasting so much time carrying a bucket everywhere. Farewell, Stanley.
This is not a waste.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley and the bucket were led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, the bucket's life came to an end, as it was crushed violently to death.
You don't get to kill my bucket. My bucket and me will live on forever.
It was a shame, the death of such a magnificent bucket. It's true that all buckets are radiant in their own way, but this one stood above the rest. It was a glorious bucket
My
to
bucket.
behold.
The bucket welcomes you to the grand exhibit. You are standing at the precipice of knowledge. Much like a bucket itself, the human mind is frequently empty within, a cavernous void. But through use of the exhibit in front of you, the mind becomes full and enriched and sustained. Knowledge of the bucket and its history is the only true knowledge we really have. Will you take what you learn here out with you into the world? Will you accept with an open mind that may be challenging? With an open mind, what may be challenging about the information in this exhibit? Will it change the lives of yourself and your loved ones as a result of this exhibit? Or will you turn a blind eye and continue to live as if you were in ignorance and darkness?
Can you see how arrogant it was for Stanley to take a bucket like this and to claim it for his own? Can you see the hubris that blinded him? Can you see that the bucket is far more noble than Stanley will ever be in his short life?
A bucket with 2 handles? This bucket is depicted as having 2 handles. Such design has never been created in real life, having been deemed too dangerous and recklessly experimental. Every year, dozens are put to death just for attempting it. Bucket with 2 handles. What a travesty. Yeah, it's a little bit more than 25 buckets. Photograph of 25 buckets, the greatest number of buckets ever captured on camera. The photographer experienced catatonic shock for several weeks as a result of the euphoria from exposure to this many buckets at once. Yeah, I think this is more than 25. Inferno bucket, replica of the Inferno bucket, which in the medieval era was so powerfully alluring that it drove dozens of nations to war with one another for control of it. Millions died, and yet in spite of it all, the simple fact remains, no one can control a bucket. True. Cave drawing. Oh, I know that bucket predicts the existence of mankind. We do not know by how long. Why do I hear noise? This cave drawing depicts early man's discovery of the practical uses of the bucket, by which time the bucket had already likely been around for several millennia. Notice in these drawings how the bucket is allowing itself to be used, being judged humanity to be worthy of its treasures. It's a good bucket.
No man can own a bucket, and certainly not a bucket as dazzling to behold as this one. It is man who should kneel before the bucket.
What adventures are we gonna continue down this bucket road? The hanging bucket. This piece symbolizes the necessary relationship between bucket and humanity. However clear our grasp of the bucket may be, there is yet more that is always out of reach. This distance inevitably is for our own good.
But there is something we can do. Something we can do together, you and I, that will right this terrible wrong. Let Stanley die. Let him be crushed by the machine. Don't reset the game. Don't give him another opportunity to run off with another beautiful bucket. We can save the world's buckets from their treatment as tools and implements if only we let Stanley die together. The bucket shall take its place as ruler, as leader, as commander of a new world, a new vision.
Oh! Okay. In the world?
Good morning. Thank you for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation. We are confirming your shipment of 1,327 cardboard boxes to your place of work. Can you verify that this is correct? Excellent. Your order will arrive shortly. Thank you again for contacting the Future Happiness Foundation.
Okay.
Stanley picked up the bucket and smiled. He'd never be alone again, not truly alone, not with the bucket around.
It's a lot of cardboard
Stanley
boxes.
clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct?
No.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Oh, gosh, I thought I almost just died. Oh! Shoot! I didn't mean to do that. What in the world?
Okay, this is day number 295. Tape number... I don't even know. I've lost track. Nothing feels real anymore. The longer I study this bucket, the less sense anything makes. The sheer euphoria I feel every time I pick it up. No matter how many times I've done it, it's always the same feeling. And the emptiness in my chest when I set it down. It doesn't make sense.
What
There's
is this
no
bucket?
explanation for it.
Okay, everything's starting to turn gray.
I still haven't figured out why I see the world so differently when this bucket is in my arms. Why everything feels so... What do I do with this treasure? I can monetize it. Yes. It's unthinkable the amounts of money people will pay for even just an hour with the bucket. This is my golden ticket. But I have to be careful, because as soon as this gets out, there's going to be a target on my back. Even now, I don't know who might be trying to get me. What's that? Who's there?
Uh-oh. I don't want to be here. Whoa, what? What in the world?
The good old bucket. Just Stanley and the bucket. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left. This was not the correct way to the meeting room.
Wait, why was that
Stanley
shorter?
had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place
Something's
to be.
different about this.
And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left
Something
to
feels
go back to
wrong.
the meeting room.
No,
Said the bucket.
don't go to the meeting room. Go somewhere else. The cargo lift, yes. Go there. Go to the cargo lift.
Oh.
You're getting close now, Stanley. You've nearly gotten all of the Figler Anmarines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them. And now
we'll have
we
them all.
have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler Anmarines. None of us can.
We.
But Stanley feared that any path he walked might lead to the separation of himself and the bucket, his dearest friend. So he threw himself to his death, that they might die in one another's arms. How deeply touching.
Well. Is it short again? No, we're back.
Stanley decided to go to the meeting room to check on his co-workers. He never functioned well by himself, and Where are we going today? The bucket asked. Stanley just smiled. Anywhere they went together would be Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Okay. So we're... Why did this room change color? Okay, so we are just missing somewhere both red and blue. I really can't seem to figure out where in the world that would be.
you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it.
I like bucket.
Okay, I've got you something which I think
Nah.
will help settle this debate once and for all. Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck.
Yep.
Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him?
Nope.
Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
Okay, now I don't know what to do. Let's find the last figure link. The last Stanley figure.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility. The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Oh my gosh. That is unsafe. I don't think I'm supposed to be able to do that.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be
I think
fine.
this is me. 427. Right? And there's my office.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well?
No.
Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
I can only trust the bucket.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Okay. You know, this place is both red and blue. Maybe the buckets, maybe the Stanley is somewhere over here. With a Figley, whatever it's called.
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for. Stanley and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support.
No.
What? Wait. What was happening? Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed? An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty, until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave.
No.
Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No. Stanley can't leave this place.
No.
Not while he has such a precious
No.
bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
My bucket.
Someone was following Stanley. He was sure of it. If he checked over his shoulder now, he would surely catch a good bucket. A strong bucket, a humble bucket, a committed bucket. A bucket of culture and distinction. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Okay, we still need to find that other Stanley room. I just don't know where it would be.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along?
Maybe it was
Was
just,
the bucket guiding him?
that I've heard the code before.
This is certainly the most logical explanation.
I don't know where this one could be. I don't remember red and blue room.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Oh, did they?
The lights rose.
You
on
can't
an
jump.
enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible
What
secret did
the
this
heck?
place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
I just got an achievement, but I don't know what it was for. Hold on, let me just, like... How in the world do I pull this up? Ah, there we go.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Literally, the achievement says, you can't jump. No, seriously, we disabled it. I think I got it for, like, clicking E so many times.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
All these achievements are like really weird. There's one that apparently has you playing the
But here
game
was
for
the
the
proof.
entirety of
The
it too.
heart
So
of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terror. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take
No.
over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley
Buckets.
was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The
Sweet.
mind controls
Look at that
were only a
bird.
facade to disguise its
at that
true
bird.
intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hand.
You find a fish?
The one who had pointed him towards this incredible
Aw,
discovery.
parrots.
Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent
Seagulls.
the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams
Flamingo.
of the silliest birds
Yellow
imaginable.
bird.
Of
Penguins.
all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley...
I have no idea what this bird is. These birds are cool. Whoa, 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 whoa,
All
whoa,
of his
whoa, whoa,
co-workers
whoa,
were
whoa.
gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. Ah, the embrace of an old friend. The weathered companionship that stands the
whiteboard
test
ending.
of time. Stanley pressed the bucket upon every little thing in the office. Nothing responded to the bucket's touch, but it did little to discourage Stanley's belief in the magic of the bucket.
Hold on. Dog mode. Dog mode. Everything I click is now dog.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest. This was not the correct way to the meeting room, but Stanley had felt the bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee lounge was simply the place to be. And here it was. Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was it no?
No.
Never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back to the meeting room. And so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
What if... What if I don't do that?
Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't even from the original Stanley Parable. It's
But
just
it's
sequel
cool.
content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new.
I don't even know what the Adventure Line is.
Yes, that's what the fans want. Let's do it.
Ooh.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
I don't know where this is going, but I love it. Where's it going? Adventure awaits.
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all about. Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
Yes, it's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up.
No. You know I'll never give up the bucket. You know I never will. I will never give up the buckets. For as long as I live.
Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer.
No!
I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me, it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead now, Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready.
No!
Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will do if it can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see,
Well, leave.
if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The Broom Closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise the fans will be clamoring for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now. You'll have to
I'm not
hurry and
feeding it the
feed
bucket.
We can't get back to the classic Stanley Parable characters like the Adventure Line or the Bucket Destroyer until you crush that damn bucket. The fans are waiting. Do it for the fans, Stanley. Give the fans what they want. Hurry and...
Oh. What the?
The Bucket Destroyer. My prized creation. You had so much potential. We were going to do such marvelous things with you, tell such spellbinding stories about you. All of it squandered now. Goodbye, new friend. For the moment in time that you were here, you were magnificent.
So sad.
All of his co-workers were gone.
So
What did
sad.
it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps the bucket made Stanley want to be a better man and a better co-worker. In time, perhaps, he would become both of those things.
Okay, we're going to do one last thing.
Stanley
And we're gonna
closed
destroy
bucket
the
tightly
buckets.
to his chair. This was not the correct way to the meeting room. But Stanley
I
had
know,
felt the
I know.
bucket calling to him, telling him that the employee
I wanna find out
lounge
what
was
happens if we
simply the
do.
place to be.
And then next time, we'll work on
And
something
here it was.
else.
Had the bucket turned out to be correct? Was this better than the meeting room? No, never mind. The bucket was wrong. Stanley took the door on his left to go back, and so the two of them detoured through the maintenance section and walked straight ahead to the opposite door.
We're going back here.
Oh, good, Stanley. I'm glad you found your way here. I knew you'd find this place eventually. You see, your friends and I are concerned for you, Stanley. We've come together here because we care about you very much. It's this bucket you're carrying around everywhere. The bucket isn't
that
even from
coffee
the
table?
original Stanley Parable. It's just sequel content. We're the ones that matter, Stanley. Classic characters from the first game, like the Adventure Line and the Broom Closet. Because that's what fans want from a sequel. They want more of their favorite jokes, not this bucket that they've never seen before. Yes, I know I'm the one who gave you the bucket, but you're spending too much time with it. Don't you want another story involving the Adventure Line? We could make the Adventure Line go somewhere new.
I know there's a baby
Yes,
ending.
yes,
I don't know
that's
how you
what the
did it.
fans want.
But I
Let's
know
do
there's a
it.
baby ending.
Whee! Look at that wacky line. Who knows where it'll go off to next? Oh, and it played some silly music as well.
Let's do it.
Now this is what the Stanley Parable is all
Oh,
about.
quick tune.
Don't you remember all those great jokes from the original dialogue?
Also, Stanley is addicted to drugs and hookers.
It's as classic now as it was back then. Let's do it for the fans, Stanley. Let's give them more content exactly like this. But if we want to do that, you're going to have to give something up. Don't you get it, Stanley? We need to get rid of the bucket. That's why I'm very proud to introduce a brand new character. This is the Bucket Destroyer. I think it'll make a wonderful new addition to the rich lore of the Stanley Parable. True, it also was not in the original game, but it's such a well-fleshed-out character with so much personality that to me, it already feels as though it's been part of the cast all along. Don't you agree? Can you guess what the Bucket Destroyer does? Surely you don't need me to spell it out for you. Go ahead,
Goodbye, Bucket.
Stanley. Say goodbye to the bucket, and then pop it into the machine when you're ready. Now listen to me. It's crucial that you give it the bucket. I don't know what the Bucket Destroyer will
I'm
do if it
trying.
can't destroy your bucket. Destroying buckets is all it knows. That is its singular personality trait. Sure, I can hear you saying, how does a character with only one personality trait deserve to join the pantheon of beloved Stanley Parable characters? Well, you see, if you were to really explore the Bucket Destroyer, you would see that its desire to crush buckets is so densely loaded with complexity and nuance that it's really like 10 personality traits. What other object in this game can you even say that about? The Broom Closet? Certainly not. I wonder what sort of Bucket Destroyer merchandise
I can't destroy the bucket.
for after this. Okay, the Bucket Destroyer is getting very upset now.
I can't destroy the bucket. It doesn't want to be destroyed. Well, that's it for this episode of the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Guess we really know who the master of this game is. And it's the bucket.